For more on all that, we can cross now to Florence La Bruyère in Budapest. Thanks for talking to us this afternoon, Florence. Now, Hungary is a country that is caught in a bit of a bind, isn't it? It was formerly behind the Iron Curtain, and they have, in principle, supported all the sanctions on Russia up to this point.
Yes, it is worth noting that so far Hungary always voted sanctions against Russia, even though it was dragging its feet and criticizing those sanctions as being counterproductive. It still approved them. But now that has changed. Now Budapest is firmly opposing applying energy sanctions on the Kremlin. And the first reason is probably political. Hungarian nationalist leader Viktor Orban has cultivated a close relationship with President Putin. Both men have met almost every year, and their close links were highlighted during the pandemic. Hungary was the first European nation to buy a Russian-made COVID vaccine, even though it wasn't approved by European regulators. And there have been commercial deals too. Over the last decade, Hungary has doubled its share of imports of Russian natural gas. And Prime Minister Orban is the only European head of government who has agreed to pay Russian gas in rubles. So Viktor Orban seems to be playing Putin's game rather than the European one.
All right, and you mentioned there's some of those economic, perhaps, ties, and there are, of course, further economic incentives, really, for not backing those sanctions. I mean, a huge reliance on Russian oil, right?
Exactly. Hungarian Foreign Affairs Minister Peter Szijjártó said it would be impossible to run the economy without Russian oil. The country imports 20,000 tons of crude oil every day. 65% of Hungary's oil supply comes from Russia. So Hungary is much more reliant on Russian oil than other countries, such as Germany, for example, who only imports 25% of its crude from Russia. And the Hungarian government has criticized the EU Commission for focusing on ideology rather than on pragmatic issues. Hungary is a landlocked country. And therefore, it cannot find alternative sources of energy from one day to the next. The government spokesman has said, you cannot fuel the economy with ideology. To heat a house or to drive a car, you need oil. And according to the Hungarian government, it would take 3 to 5 years for Hungary to diversify its energy supply and secure alternatives.
Okay, so those objectives of becoming completely self-sufficient in terms of oil vis-a-vis Russia by the end of the year, not realistic really for Hungary. Thank you for that, Florence La Bruyère in Budapest.